Chapter 9. Ponder and Deliberate. It is 10 o'clock at night when Jack hears a loud banging on his apartment door. He goes over and looks through the peephole. There are 3 thugs outside, all of which he recognizes from the lunchbox. "Open the door," demands one. "Open the door, or we'll huff, and we'll puff, and we'll blow your house down," announces the second with a snicker. "What do you want?" Jack shouts through the closed door. "What the fuck do you think we want? We want to get in. Open the fucking door." Jack slowly opens the door a crack, and they force their way in, breaking the chain latch off the door jamb. "Good boy," shouts one as they enter. "We're here doing some charity work. We're collecting for a community group called the Firemen's Fund. I'm sure you've heard about some of the apartment fires here in the neighborhood, haven't you? It's a goddamn shame, isn't it?" Jack says nothing. "I guess you heard about the one over on Hayes Street, and the one on Aiden? If those people woulda had us on the job, I bet those fires never woulda happened. What do you think?" Jack is again silent. "What we do is we make sure that kind of thing doesn't happen to you. Now, it's hard to keep this kind of service going without support, and we're here to ask for your contribution. We strongly suggest, a $50 per month donation." Jack still says nothing. "Let's quit the bullshit," shouts the other thug impatiently. "Give up the $50 and you don't get burned out." Jack slowly reaches into his pocket and hands them $40, and is still silent. "You're light, my man," I said. 50. "It's all I've got now," Jack replies. There is a brief silence as all 3 of them glare at Jack. Then, one speaks. "Okay, but we'll be back next month, and it'll be $60, that'll give you a whole month to save up." They leave, and as they move down the hall, Jack closes his door and slumps into a chair. He can hear them pounding on the next apartment's front door. "What a bitch," he mumbles to himself. The next morning, Jack is seated on his usual bench, in front of the apartment building. When he sees Hal approaching, he has a splint and bandage on his finger. Hal holds his hand by his side, away from Jack, in a weak attempt to hide it. Jack immediately spots it and proceeds to slowly pry information out of his reluctant friend. "Hey man, what the hell happened to you? What happened to your hand?" "Oh, that. I got my finger busted." "Well, yeah. But, how?" "Got it slammed in a door. Broke the little one real good." "Slammed in a door? How'd you do that?" "Don't make no difference how," Hal replies reluctantly, "it just got smashed." "You seem kinda jittery, Hal. What's the problem?" "No problem, Jack. Really, no problem." "How long have I known you, Hal?" asked Jack solemnly. "Don't know. I guess, pretty much, ever since I moved here." "And, how much time do you figure we spend on this bench every week?" "I suppose a couple hours a day, except in bad weather." "I'm not a great math guy, but I'd say that adds up to about a shitload of hours. What do you think?" "Probably right," agrees Hal. "I think, then, we can pretty much tell when the other one of us isn't telling the whole truth." "Suppose so," Hal again agrees reluctantly. "So, what happened to the hand?" Hal hesitates again, but then speaks. "It happened last night." He proceeds to explain. Some of the gang were outside, pounding on his door, so Hal got up from his seat. There were several empty beer bottles on the table in front of him, and Hal was, by now, unsteady and still with a beer in his hand, as he went to the door and looked through the peephole. One of the men shouted, "We're collecting for charity. Open the door." Slurring his words, Hal shouted back at them, "Fuck you. You scumbags. You're not getting a goddamn dime. Now get out of here. If you know what's good for you, you'll open the fucking door." "Blow me," Hal yelled, stumbling back from the door, as he started walking away. Suddenly, the door was broken open, and they streamed in. They pushed Hal into the bathroom, and backward into the bathtub. As he lay on his back in the tub, one of the thugs was grasping him by his shirt collar, while another pulled Hal's wallet out of his pocket, taking out whatever money was in it. Suddenly, DS appeared in the bathroom's doorway. He shouted, "What the fuck is going on with this guy? He ain't exactly cooperating with the program." DS stepped into the bathroom. "We can't be going through this every time. If it gets out, we're gonna have trouble with all the others too. Get him over here." They pulled Hal out of the bathtub, and over to the bathroom's door, as he vainly struggled. There, DS grabbed hold of Hal's hand, forcing his little finger into the crack between the door and the jamb, close to one of the hinges. Holding the hand there, as Hal continued to wriggle and writhe, DS yelled, "Okay, let her go." One of the thugs slammed the door closed, crushing Hal's finger, and the old man screamed. As they released him, he fell to the floor, clutching his hand. The group turned to leave. On the way out, DS stopped in the doorway, yelling back at him, "Next time it'll be your dick." Hal was left writhing in pain on the bathroom floor. As he finishes his explanation, Hal sits in momentary silence, his head down. "Holy shit," Jack exclaims. "What did you do then?" "What could I do? I packed my hand in ice and walked to the hospital ER, down on Bradley. They set my finger and gave me some pain pills." There is a long silence before Jack speaks. "Ponder and deliberate before you make a move." "What?" questions Hal. Sun Tzu, The Art of War. It was written by an ancient Chinese warlord, about 2,500 years ago. It means think before you act, and you will succeed. We have to think about what we're gonna do. "What do you mean what we're gonna do? You don't really think we can just sit around and let this kind of shit keep happening over and over to you?" replies Jack. "Well, what are we gonna do about it?" "That's what I just said, ponder and deliberate before you act. We have to decide how to stop this, and soon," Jack answers. Something else Sun Tzu said was, "In order to kill the enemy, our men must be roused to anger." I know I'm pretty pissed off, and I'm sure you're too. Hal says, "Then I guess all we gotta do is the ponder and deliberate part. Where did you get all this Chinese stuff from?" "When I was in the service, I had this drill sergeant. He loved the art of war and he used to carry quotes from it in his shirt pocket, and he'd say them every day. He made us learn them by heart. Every day we'd get a new quote, and the next day he'd call guys at random and ask them about it. If you didn't know the answer, you were in for some heavy ball bustin'. When I was going through this, I thought it was a bunch of bullshit, but turned out lots of times later on, these words served me well. This problem we've got here is war, and Sun Tzu can help us win it. Bring PD over with you tomorrow." "Sure thing, Jack," Hal replies, and they leave the bench. As Jack is walking upstairs to his apartment, he notices Mrs. Murray's door is open, a piece of duct tape hanging from it. He cracks it open a little and stealthily whispers into the apartment, "Mrs. Murray? Ellen?" "Jack, is that you?" She answers. "Yes. I saw that your door was open. Are you feeling all right?" "I'm okay. I just gotta take these pills every day and they said I'd be okay." She picks up a bottle of pills from the table, holding it up for Jack to see. The label reads, Digitalis, 3 milligrams. "Why'd you leave your door open?" "I called the super about the door, must be a dozen times. He keeps saying that he's going to fix it, but he never shows up. I usually close it with a piece of duct tape, but I guess it just came loose again." She pauses for a moment, then adds, "I've wanted to talk to you, but I didn't want to make trouble for you again." "Talk about what?" "Last night, those thugs came back to my door and scared me out of $50, a donation to their Firemen fund. I know it was a shakedown, but I didn't even argue. I was so scared, especially after what happened before. I just gave them the money. They said they'll be back next month, for more. I didn't know what else to do." "Did I do the right thing, Jack?" "Yes, you did the only thing that you could do," Jack replies, consolingly. "What should I do when they come back?" "I think you'll have to pay them again until we can straighten all this out." "What if I don't have the money?" "Come see me before they are due, and I'll try to help you out as best I can." The next morning, Jack is sitting at the counter in the lunchbox. He points to his cup. "Charlie, give me a little more." As Charlie pours, Jack inquires, "Have those bums who usually sit at that table been here already?" Finished filling Jack's cup, Charlie walks around to the table in the gang's booth, which he starts to wipe down. As he answers, "Yeah, they always show up about 10 and leave about 11 or 12, they only just left. Not only do they not pay the bill, they always leave a mess, and spill shit all over the place. Don't even put the lid back on the sugar. Look at this." Charlie points to an empty coffee cup on the table, and Jack turns on his stool to look. "That DS guy uses half the table's sugar and most of it just sits on the bottom of the cup anyway," Charlie explains, with disgust. "You mean they come here every day?" "Sure do, like clockwork. Come here, steal breakfast from me, then go home, get high, sleep it off and be ready for their night ride as they call it." Jack finishes his coffee and stands preparing to leave. "See you tomorrow, Charlie." "Guess you're a regular now, Jack?" Jack answers, with a smile, "I like your coffee. And even better still, I pay the tab." Jack leaves, as Charlie continues cleaning up.